This is the Samsung Galaxy S22 Plus in matte black. And this little stunner is the one to go for in Samsung's lineup. Hey, what's going on? Prashil here, and this is my 1 month review of the Samsung Galaxy S22 Plus. So let's start off with the design. Alright, so I gotta hand it to Samsung on this one. This is one good looking phone, and the matte black finish just makes it look that much better. Especially since I came from the colorful Pixel 6 that I had been rocking for months prior and getting people come up to me and point out the color. I chose the matte black version for the stealthy, low-key look. Not because I don't like people, I just don't like talking to people. Anyway, Samsung did a great job with the design, not just aesthetically, but also from a functional standpoint. It not only looks good, it's actually easier to hold, and honestly feels really compact for a device with a screen of 6.6 inches. It feels like they're ushering a new era of boxier designs and are definitely... Hang on a second, that's the iPhone 12 Pro. And it looks an awful lot like the S22 Plus, huh? Alright, so it seems like Samsung pretty much copied the last gen iPhone 12 models and slightly improved on the design. And it's not that surprising really, because Samsung did at one point make fun of Apple's choice not to include a charging brick in the box. And then what did they go ahead and do? They removed the charging brick from the box in their phones. So yeah, it seems like, say what you will about Apple, but it seems like they're the ones that are really shaping the trends, with these other smartphone manufacturers sort of following them like sheep. Alright, let's talk about day-to-day use. So it's no surprise that the S22 Plus is blazing quick when you're going about your day-to-day tasks. Checking your email, browsing the web, watching YouTube videos, going on Reddit, whatever you're doing on a day-to-day basis, this can handle it and then some. Everything you throw at it is honestly not a problem for it, and that's thanks to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip. And it all really looks great too. The 6.6 inch dynamic AMOLED 2X screen, boy that's a mouthful, is spectacular to look at and gets plenty bright. I had absolutely no issues with visibility outdoors. I mean, Samsung's been the industry leader when it comes to screens in the smartphone game, and so yeah, it's no surprise that the S22 Plus brings its A game when it comes to the screen. And you can also enjoy the screen and performance when gaming. The S22 Plus can pretty much run most of the latest games with no issues at all. I found that the adaptive screen refresh rate makes for a really fluid gaming experience, with nice animations when navigating through the UI. However, there is a caveat to this, and we will get into that later. Now, to be completely honest with you, I'm not much of a mobile gamer, but I did throw a few games at the S22 Plus, one of which was Genshin Impact. I found pleasantly to my surprise that the phone, honestly, after a few hours of gaming, didn't actually heat up much. But the battery did take a hit. And actually, let's talk about the battery, because that is one thing I feel has been compromised in this year's model. So let's get into that. The S22 has a 4500 mAh battery, as opposed to the 4800 mAh battery on the S21 Plus. Now, Samsung did hope to achieve a more power-efficient phone with the S22 Plus. However, that big and beautiful, high refresh, high resolution screen does take a toll on the phone. And so battery life, surprisingly, is average at best. And while that may have been a bad thing about 5 years ago, fortunately, tech today is actually so good that even a phone with average battery life is actually pretty decent. I mean, you can still get a day and a half out of the battery life with this phone with moderate usage. Now, if you're talking about heavy full-on usage, you can probably get about 6 to 7 hours of screen on time before the phone will call it quits. Now, you can actually kill this phone in a day. For power users, that may be a bit of a concern, but with my heavy usage, which isn't really gaming oriented at all, it's more mobile video and photo editing and watching YouTube videos, that sort of stuff, I could actually still get about 10 to 15% left at the end of the day with my heavy usage, which may be different for others, but yeah, it is something worth noting here. Alright, let's focus on the camera, pun intended. So Samsung made a big change to the camera setup with the new S22 lineup, shifting the focus away, pun intended again, from the telephoto lens to the main camera. Now, the S22 Plus had a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera, a 12 megapixel wide camera, and a 64 megapixel telephoto camera. The S22 Plus, on the other hand, has a 50 megapixel wide camera, a 12 megapixel ultra-wide angle camera, and a 10 megapixel telephoto lens. Now, despite being someone who's actually into photography, I didn't really find myself using the telephoto lens that much on a smartphone. I mean, normally I'll just bring out my camera and do all that stuff there. And I'm actually glad that they shifted focus away from it and back to the main camera. as they should have on the previous generation model. And so the telephoto lens having a higher megapixel count on the last year's model honestly just didn't make sense to me. But this year, I'm glad they took a different direction with it. Photo quality is really great, and I was able to snap some really great shots with great image quality. Low-light photography is honestly really good as well, with a good amount of detail being retained thanks to that new and improved sensor. Video quality is absolutely top-notch here. Standard 4K footage at 30 frames is no problem for this phone. I mean, it is absolutely crisp and stable. Now this phone is also capable of recording 8K footage, albeit only at 24 frames per second. However, it's still a pretty nifty feature if you're into that. Now the S22 Plus is honestly a great phone. I would even go as far to say that it's actually a great all-round phone. Now it doesn't exactly reinvent the wheel, but it definitely does a damn good job on improving it. I think the highlighting feature here is the design. It definitely feels a lot better in the hand and just feels like a nice and compact phone, kind of like what Apple did on their previous generation iPhones. But you know what? Neither here nor there. And to be completely honest with you, I prefer this design over the iPhones. So yeah, they definitely did improve it here. The camera setup here also makes sense to me. I like that the emphasis is back on the primary sensor as opposed to the telephoto lens. It definitely helps with the low light shots. You get that much better image quality. So yeah, I'm all for that. Now the battery life could be improved, but it's not terrible. And as you use the phone, it actually starts to pick up on your usage patterns, and it actually adjusts the phone's behavior as well as the adaptive refresh rate to help squeeze out more juice out of the battery. And so yeah, you will see an improvement in battery life over time as you continue to use it. I found that there is a slight improvement. It's not the biggest improvement, but there is a slight improvement. I really like the fingerprint scanner. It's super quick and super reliable. Definitely something I don't miss on the iPhone is the Face ID, which when you're wearing a mask is pretty much useless, barring the new updates that they've done now. But yeah, that's really good. However, this phone, like everything else, isn't perfect, and for some reason there is a bit of stuttering and lag when using this device. Now, it's nothing crazy, but if I had to nitpick, that would definitely be something I'd have to mention. When scrolling, it's definitely noticeable, as well as when navigating the UI. Samsung's One UI has definitely come a long way, but yeah, you can't really blame the hardware. This is rocking the latest specs, and there is some room for improvement with the software. Thankfully, that can always be done with updates, so I'm not really too stressed by that, but yeah, it is worth noticing that the UI definitely could use a bit of an improvement. So there you have it. The S22 Plus is a great all-round phone. And while it's not a perfect phone, if you can live with a few of its shortcomings, then it's honestly a phone I can recommend. So yeah, that's my review on the S22 Plus, and it looks like we're out of time, so I'll catch you in the next one. Till then, peace.